Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, Tamara here. Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Paul Roseberry, a relationship coach and matchmaker by day and stand-up comic by night. Thanks for joining me, Paul.
Thank you so much for having me, Tamara. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I am too, and I think it's cool that you do stand-up. So, people should search for you for that too. So.
Yeah, I do both. I think it helps with the relationship coaching because I can bring levity to a otherwise kind of heavy, not so fun situation sometimes, or topic for that matter. And I think humor is a great way to actually get information to stick, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. All right, but would you say that's your first love and this is your second, or are they even, or?
They're kind of even. It's like they're both my babies, kind of. Like the comedy I enjoy because I like to unwind life. I like to de-stress. I mean, they're really both de-stressors in a sense, but with comedy, it's just to kind of keep things loose and just point at new ways to laugh about life. Like, I'm a comic. I'm kind of a dark perspective on a lot of things, but that just makes it more fun to shine light at times. And then with the coaching, it's just far more applicable. Similarly, it's all about expanding thoughts to really figure out why is something happening. If something, kind of both are based on discomfort.
Yeah.
So when something uncomfortable happens, I like to really break up and figure out why. And then sometimes you find a core thread where you're like, oh, well, if we work on that, then we don't have to feel uncomfortable again.
Yeah. Is your stand-up a lot of relationship stuff as well?
I include some. Like my new special, I'm recording a special on Saturday, and it's called We're Not the Same, because my stuff is for the people who are going to enjoy it. It's not for everybody. I would think most people could enjoy it, but it's for those who are willing to think. You've got to think a little bit, like I really enjoy thinking.
Alrighty. Well, since this is mostly about sex and dating and relationships, let's jump back into that part. And,
sure.
I know you are have a security method. Do you want to talk about how you got to it, or how you got started in coaching, or wherever you want to start?
All right. So I guess we could give a little foreground on me. So yeah, I got into coaching because I learned everything the hard way. Mm-hmm. It's the easiest way to put it. It wasn't that I just hung back and was like, oh, this is so easy, everyone should just know how to do relationships. No. Very wrong for a long time. Kidding. I was a fat kid growing up. I know, I guess now you're supposed to say large, or I don't know, like fabrically challenged or something, but I was a big boy. We were broke, so I had like holes in my sneakers and stuff when I was in elementary school. I was vegetarian, which in the 80s, I'm 46. So in the 80s to be vegetarian, and it wasn't my choice. It wasn't like my idea. Like my parents were just kind of hippies and were like, oh, we shouldn't have to hurt animals to live. So I didn't eat meat till I was 12. And just to ice the cake, I also stuttered. So that was fun. So you live in like a bad neighborhood and you're fat and you stutter and you're broke with holes in your shoes and you don't eat meat. You're going to get beat up.
Yeah. Especially as a guy, huh? I'm bullied.
Totally. Yeah. So, you carry that into your teenage years, you kind of still feel that even if I started to lose some weight, I got, better haircut, whatever. But I still felt like that fat kid from the neighborhood, so I didn't realize that I hadn't shaken that on some level. Yeah. I guess I didn't realize I didn't even think to shake it really. So dating was really hard. Like I would go talk to girls who, probably would have wanted to go out with me, but then I still kind of thought in my head that I was that kid. And so I made it weird. It was just really insecure, nervous. So from there, I'm from a small town in New Hampshire. So that means that like everyone through high school kind of has known everyone forever. So you're not going to like be new tomorrow because you got a new shirt, or you get a new haircut. So you're like a fresh new guy no one's heard of. If you feel like everyone still knows you as the kid from third grade, so do they kind of. So when I got to college, which I snuck in, I actually didn't get accepted to college. So I just went because I just wanted to go to parties. So I went to college, kind of, that's for another day. But anyway, I just decided like, here's a place with thousands of people, tons of girls who've never met me before. I'm who I am today. That's it. That's what I am. I'm who's in front of them right now. And I'm going to try to be that too. And so I just went for the numbers approach. I just would talk to any girl. I was very talkative always. I got most talkative in high school. So I wouldn't say I had no problem talking to new people, but I was kind of inclined to it. But it was still scary. And, so I pushed myself and just, whether I asked for a phone number or not necessarily, but just to go spark conversation with somebody new. And I tried to get really good at that. And then once I got better at talking to people, then and even just like my jobs, I would bag groceries at the grocery store. I was a cashier at the grocery store. I was a waiter. I'd get jobs where you have to talk to people. Then I got more comfortable with that. And as time went on, then you ask girls out, then you get phone numbers, and then some don't call you back. And then some do. Go on a first date. Some don't want to see you again. And then some do, so like I would crash and burn so much that I was just determined. I'm like, I want a girlfriend. I got to figure this out. So then all through my 20s, I really just dated. I didn't know how to keep a relationship. And it was frustrating. Of course, I wanted to. But then in my 30s, then I started to get into relationships. And it was at that point where I had amassed so much internal note-taking as to how I got to be able to get into a relationship that one day I was working in my real estate office in New York, in Manhattan, and it was a big open office with a ton of people. And there was this one buddy of mine who he was all bummed out. And I said, what happened? He said, I got dumped, whatever. And I said, all right. And I knew him. He's a good dude. I kind of had a feeling what he had done wrong. Nothing terrible. And I'd met the girl once or twice. So I was like, all right, you want her back? And he's like, what? Yeah. What do you mean? And I was like, all right, let's go outside. So I take his phone and I just start texting her. And I would write what I was going to send, but I wouldn't send it until he said it's okay. So then I sent. In about 20 minutes, they were back together. They were going to dinner that night at P.F. Chang's next to his apartment. And he's like, dude, what are you telling? And she was excited, And he's like, what'd you do? I said, you need to read every text we sent and figure out if you are or are not this guy, like you're sitting here nodding like it works. So, and it's not complicated. It's just communication and just a little bit of balance, He's like, all right, great. I don't know how long they lasted. It wasn't so long, but they were back together. And it gave him a start as to what to work on. And then before I knew it, I had a client who came through. Girl broke up with him right on like Christmas Eve or something. He was broken. And he was so upset. I met him in a bar to talk about it. And I said, all right, I'm going to help you out. It's going to be fine. That one took about a week and a half. And we were texting. So what I would do is I would text him what to say to this girl in quotes. And then underneath I'd put why. And if he wants to send it, go ahead and send it. So after about a week and a half, this girl went from not wanting to see him. She wanted him to drop off her clothes when she wasn't there. Like she doesn't even want to see him, ever. Again, because he was a super nice guy. He was just too nice that she was over it. To then, after these texts, she posted a picture of them on Instagram saying how lucky she was to have a second chance and hashtag new beginnings. And, again, these are buddies of mine who I got to know. And I was like, look, you've got to understand what we've been talking about. These texts are for a reason. So anyway, like kind of from there, it just like people started to realize, oh my God, like Paul can help people. And it was only positive things. I'm not telling them to be someone they're not or somebody who'd be rude to the girl. The girls loved it. Yeah. And then, literally one day, my wife and I, we were, in a store in the East Village, like a retail spot with a glass front. And a guy came running in and was like, hey, I heard you can help me with girls. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking? Like, what is going on? And so in time, I said, all right. And my wife pushed me because she was like, look, we have a great relationship. You really do help people. Men and women both need it. Get out there, go do it.
Yeah.
So I started to spread the word. Yeah, I'm available. You can hire me. And then what I wanted to get into was I wanted to kind of test my theories in mass, so that's why I became a matchmaker. And I worked for two of the largest matchmaking companies in the US. And it gave me super high volume to talk to people about their relationships, their relationship goals, what hasn't worked for them, what do they want in their next one, and to observe, not only ask them, but also observe them so I could see what they didn't see. I'd listen to what they're omitting, what they're doing wrong, that I could kind of shape them if they're open to it. And I was excited that my theories really held up. They really, because I'm a flexible guy. I want to have good information for people. I don't want to just talk to talk. I want it to work. And so it really, it really has held up. And so I feel really excited about what I'm putting together with the security method. And for a guy who doesn't read a ton, I listen to a ton of lectures on YouTube, and I love learning, but I don't like to read a book per se.
Yeah.
But I think I have to write a book now. So it's like,
Yeah.
here we go, like uncharted territories.
Yeah, but that's good. You weren't trying to like prove your point or be right. You were trying to see if what you thought worked, and then you were willing to change it if needed, but found out you didn't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. There's always some adjustment. Yeah. I'm not going to say I've got like, the golden ratio over here, but kinda, cause I'm really into least common denominator. I want to make something so universally basic that whether your name is Jeff or your name is Joe, and, you live in Nebraska or you live in, I don't know, Germany, like this will be a way to look at your relationship and ask yourself if these things are happening or not. Are you staying on this path? And if you're having troubles, you probably have not. You've probably strayed from this path. So, yeah, I like to keep it universal as best we can.
Okay. So do you want to talk about what is the security method now, or
It's a secret. I don't tell anybody. I'm going to die with it in my clutches. No, yeah. So what the security method is, it's, I really feel that a core fundamental of relationships is security. We have to feel the investment is mutual, the interest is mutual. We're talking about letting our guards down. I'll tell you where it came to me from. So I noticed, I'll say I really like to help guys, especially. And I do that somewhat out of efficiency because I feel that right now guys are really struggling. Guys, I think, men and women, if they're not in a relationship, then both are struggling. But I think the men, especially in our culture and society today, are missing how to be comfortable in their masculinity, how to embrace it, and how to deliver it in a way that feels exciting and hot to the girl. So what I've noticed then is that if guys aren't understanding their masculinity, they're not feeling comfortable stepping into it, then what they're doing, usually a lot of times, they're being too nice. And too nice is yuck. It's a turn, right? You're a woman. I'm sure you've met a guy here and there.
Yeah, I told a friend years ago that he was just like, it was just too nice and too boring and like too pushover, and do all the, you lose respect. Yeah.
Tamara, that's literally, like, you couldn't have said it cleaner. Those are the best words. It's exactly. And so ultimately, if you string those words together, like when you said a pushover, see, I believe that, to put it in like a cave sense, one aspect of security, having a value in a relationship, we're all still sort of cave people a little bit. We have iPhones, but we still are a little bit cave people. We like meat on a fire. Like we're still there. So I believe often subconscious, if not even consciously, women know, okay, if I get in a relationship with this guy, things go well, at some point we're going to have a baby. Probably just, that's kind of the general gist. I mean, some people choose not to have kids, whatever. Generally speaking, that's what's going on. So part of you has to say, well, when I'm pregnant, can't go fighting the tiger. Can't do it, and I don't know if you could when you weren't pregnant, but it's certainly not when you are. So you have to feel that the guy who's not going to be pregnant when you are and is fully able-bodied can go and fight the tiger for him and for you. You've got to be able to get that sensation. That's security. That's protection. That's the security kind of ethos right there. If a woman feels like that guy's got that, you can probably start to relax and have more fun. It's not the end all be all. It's not, and there are many aspects of security, but that's just an example of one avenue where things can start to relax. Likewise, if a woman doesn't feel that this guy has the ability to take the wheel when she's overwhelmed, because even if we're not talking about people in a cave, if you're overwhelmed, he's going to be able to take over sometimes. Likewise, her for him. But if she doesn't feel like he can, then she goes, oh, well, if we're going to continue this, then I have to be the man and the woman. That's what's going to have to happen now. And I notice you nod your head.
I know I mean, I've heard this so much from women. But we want men to step up, but then we also nag them or critique them. So of course, then they're less inclined to want to do it in the future. But so it's on both of us. So.
Well, and I like that you said that, because one thing, I just an hour ago I was on another pod with a guy who he was asking a great question. How do you flip things? Because I coach men and women. I get the most passionate about men because I see the greatest opportunity for growth. I see leaps and bounds of very little work of huge gains, which is exciting. But for women as well, I think you nailed it. I offer that women consider, how often do you compliment the guy? Because I've noticed, and you don't want to do it disingenuously. If you're not impressed by a guy, don't be with him. You kind of got to be turned on. But sometimes women will, in my experience, as a self-security mechanism, will try not to engage in things of like encouragement with a guy, because it appears to me that if someone's self-esteem is low, and men and women both suffer tremendously, but if a woman's self-esteem is low and she goes and gives a guy a compliment, then he might be like, oh yeah, I am awesome. Now that you mention it, I'm cooler than you. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I've heard that both ways, where the person's like, oh, let me not, give them a big head, so they want to leave. Yeah. Yeah.
It's disturbing. Now, men, I mean, I'll say this is not new for men either. Of course, there was a book called The Game 20 years ago. You remember that? Neil Strauss. And they had negging.
Yeah, I didn't.
Did you ever hear that?
I didn't read that one. I read his follow-up, The Truth. But I know of him, of The Game. So, yeah. Hi, Tamara here. Just wanted to break in and say, if something you're hearing is making you think of a friend who could use this information, feel free to forward it to them right now. They would probably really be grateful for that. Thank you so much. Bye.
I've got to look at the truth. Somebody just brought it up to me because I just turned my back on it so long ago. I bought the book when it came out. I read 30 pages and I was like, this is disgusting. I'm out of here. And I just didn't even finish. And I paid like $28 for the book or something. I just threw it away. But somebody just recently told me he had a second book called The Truth. Did you find that to be more?
Yeah, I mean, it's what he discovered after trying to do the game world, and it boils down to wanting an actual relationship and trying to make one work. So
yeah. Well, I'm glad, because I always said he should have had a part 2 called How to Do Dentistry at Home on Yourself after that girl's friend or brother beats your mouth for talking like that. Yeah, so guys would use negative statements about a girl to lower her self-esteem. So then she'd look to him as like a source of confidence. It's really, that's like a like a war
Yeah.
crime. It's like, it's psychological. It's sick. But yeah. So I mean, with the security, I found that when I see guys who like my biggest emotional response is when I see a guy just getting crushed in a relationship. A girl who he's with, not like with today, but like his girlfriend or his wife, and just she is, as you were saying, maybe nags on him or whatever, like bullies the dude. I'll see it. It happens. It's not a secret. And part of you was just like, what's wrong with you? Why are you putting up with this? And so you got to follow that path for him. And you said, well, why? Well, okay, here's why. Most of the time, it's out of fear. The relationship solves a problem for him that he doesn't want to have to face all over again. On base level, there's a guy, maybe there's a guy who's with a girl who's really beautiful. She's the hottest girl he's ever been with. In his mind, she's out of his league. So she can do no wrong. She could do nothing he would never walk away from this relationship because he feels taller with her. He feels like he gets more respect when people see her with him. So she can then do anything. And when a woman realizes, oh, okay, here's the problem. Here's how it relates to security. That woman eventually will realize it's kind of weird. I can do anything to this guy because I don't fault women for testing men at all. On some level within rational decency. But, if we're talking about a security based relationship, you want to know this person can provide security. You know what I mean? You want to know they can handle their own. So you're going to test them a little bit to see if they're for real. And it's protecting your own security to see if they're for real. Because when the guy sees a woman as a solution to a problem, not an interest, a relationship, I believe, should be based on interest. You like this person, you enjoy their company. That's interest. But if you go, oh, I was so tired of being single. It was so hard to get a date. Finally, this girl, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't care. I never want to be single again. My parents, I don't want them to rag on me. You know what I mean? None of my friends are single anymore. I don't want to be alone. Well, the girl, eventually she's going to go, oh, so this isn't about me. This is about you having fear. Wait, so you need me to make you feel safe? Ew. Well, what the hell what are you talking about? And where it really becomes a problem, not only is it unattractive, but then the woman goes, oh, I don't have any security in this relationship. Because if my looks make you feel strong, there's a lot of good looking women on this planet.
Yeah.
And even if you're a 10 from a magazine, we all have issues with self-esteem. And you're going to go, there's a lot of magazines out here. There's a lot of other 10s from other magazines. So I'm easily replaced. She can't say, I know why I'm here. And there's 10 points of security. There's one. And I'm easily replaced if it's just looks. We get in one argument. I gain 5 pounds. I get a new haircut. He grabs some new girl off the subway. This is over. Well, that's not. How come then she's going to go, not only do I have to fear this could end at any time, but also you don't even know me. You haven't put any time into asking me about me, learning about me, being with me for me. This sucks. This is surface. This is junk. And then you get into kind of two options there. If you have a particularly healthy woman, she might say, I'm out. This is stupid. I'm gone. What's worse, scarier, I think, is when you have a woman who may have low self-esteem herself, and she goes, ugh, well, I don't want to go back to dating either. And I hate that I can control you. I know I can control you because you're afraid to lose me at any cost, which means I can do anything and you won't leave. So I own you. And as much as I don't find that attractive, it's comforting in that you won't leave because I won't let you.
Yeah.
Like I can control you like a robot. So fine, we're going to be in this like mutually gross relationship for the rest of our lives. And I'm going to abuse you so that you don't ever feel better than me and leave. And then I'm going to feel like self-loathing because I have to be in a relationship that's based on literally abuse. And, but people will do that for 30 years. They'll do it for 50, so.
Yeah. And I joked, since I used to do stand up too, that we should have National Breakup Day. So like when everyone breaks up on the same day, then there'll be all different people in the pools online, and we can all get our actual good match.
You are a comedian. That's it. I love it. I love your train of thought on that.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, it would literally fill up all the apps with all the new people, and everyone would know they're gonna, have a new chance. So I even had
You could have speed dating in the street.
Yeah, of course, if you're married, you have to stay together because it's hard to divorce. But for the single ones, could do it.
Well, and even to that, I'll say, I often refer to my wife. I'll mention my wife, but we're actually not married. It's we'll be together 12 years in January. We have a 10-month-old little girl. It's my wife, like whatever. Like it starts to sound like almost misleading. If you're like, oh, my girlfriend, it sounds like we met, at a diner 2 months ago or something. Like, no, we're come on, for all intents and purposes. But to your point, I say, I'm not a big wedding marriage guy. I'm not huge on it because I say we choose each other every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it ever were to not be mutually beneficial for any length of time with some work, whatever, why would we get lawyers?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, especially, if divorce and all that stuff happens, that's when people lose lots of money and lots of animosity fighting through all that. And,
Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, I hear. I live in LA. People are crazy lifestyles. I've seen more than one $300,000 divorce. And that's not who got $300K or splitting. That's like, those are the lawyer fees. Unbelievable. I could not. And, but also when I lived in New York City, my wife had actually overheard, and she was telling me that the neighbors were arguing about how they can't break up because they couldn't afford to move out. This is years ago. They were a young couple. It's pretty hilarious. The stuff you hear through your back window is pretty funny. But no, but I really believe that I think that people don't go into relationships with any sort of a plan, and I think that it's you go into a home buying or car buying. I researched my TV, my first big TV. I looked for like 3 months before I bought it, and I still did it wrong, and that was just a TV. I think I spent $900. But I really thought about what I wanted and looked around. And so, I think that relationships, if we come up with any sort of a strategy, which is what I like to help people with. I like to help people come up with a plan. I like to get them in a position to get what they want, because you have to know what you want first. And you got to know who you are. What do you bring to the table? Who are you looking to meet? What does an ideal relationship look like? That's a battery of questions that may sound stressful, but you must. You have to.
Yeah. If you want to keep them at least and have a good one.
I mean, hey, if you just want to be a serial dater forever, but then just be comfortable with that and be honest with yourself if that's what you want. But if you want to be in a monogamous long-term relationship and one that you enjoy, then you've got to be pragmatic about it. What I like to do, I offer everybody, I call it the fives. And the fives it's an exercise where I tell people, write down the 5 things that you bring to a relationship that are valuable. What are 5 great things about you that anybody would be glad to meet somebody who has those qualities in a relationship? What are 5 things you'd like to see in a partner? And be flexible, this isn't like end all be all. And when I say 5, I mean, write like 10, write like 15, 20 things. It doesn't have to be today. Just, start the list. And then as time goes on, like chip away, and then move to whatever's in the top 5, to really, you're learning about yourself. Who are you, and what are some of the things that you want to find in a person? And you're going to have this list. And is everybody going to check all the boxes? No, but at least what we're doing, and I offer this to men because I think women are naturally more inclined to be more somewhere between inquisitive and apprehensive. about who a man is before they get serious, which is good. It's smart. Thank God. Where men will be like, oh, you see that girl across the bar who just walked in? Yeah, I'm going to marry her one day.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
You're like, what the hell are you talking about? It sounds romantic in a movie, but it on paper, you're like, oh, okay. So based on how somebody looked from a distance, you're going to commit the rest of your life, your financial life, your living situation, your parenting situation. Like, are you out of your mind? No wonder things blow up all the time. Whereas women, you might be on the fifth date and you didn't even know there was something that's been, question that's been chewing at her that she's afraid to ask, but it's important, and you're like, really? We're still, wow. Okay. And I say men should borrow that from the women's playbook. Yeah. Write down these lists, what are 5 things, to be totally real yourself, what are 5 things you are afraid for somebody else to see about you? Meaning, what are some things that you think, why would somebody not want to be with you? In your own opinion, they may not even be valid, but these are the things that we often paint ourselves negatively for 100 reasons. We just shouldn't, but we don't take the time to build a personal awareness of our value, of our strengths. And so we don't even know we're doing it. But, I say, like, when a guy goes to a bar and he's a young dude and he's, before he goes up to a girl, he gets nervous and he's thinking, God, he's got to build up kind of the guts to go up to her. Well, the reason is because he's thinking to himself, he's playing her agent and pitching her away from you. Like, we're doing it to ourselves. We're saying, if I were her, I would choose a better looking guy, a guy who makes more money, a cooler guy, because she's hot. She probably deals with the coolest dudes, and I'm a dork compared to who she normally gets. So this is only going to go poorly. I'm just doing this to get worked up, and then I'm going to get smoked. And, and then that's how it goes. Because then you go up nervous, your palms are sweaty, you're like you're talking at a weird speed, whatever. But I encourage guys to flip the interview. And by flip the interview, I mean, think about it. If you've decided, all right, do your 5s. I have a lot of value. I bring a lot to a relationship. I hadn't thought about it before, but I actually do. There's reason for me to be valuable to anybody on some level. I know what I want from a relationship, reasonably speaking. And I know I've decided I'm going to be in one. I'm going to be in a relationship, whether it's today, tomorrow, next year, I don't know, but we're doing this 100%. Like, we're not coming home without it at some point. Then you go, okay, well, then realistically, we now realize you can only get into a serious monogamous relationship with one person. So now you start to flip your mindset from fear to abundance, and you go, wait, hold on. This means that I should be more selective because I can only pick one person. I should actually try to learn more about these people when I meet them. And so now that same guy standing at the bar, he goes, okay, this girl's attractive. She's cute. Maybe she smiled nicely when she was with her friends. She might be fun. I don't know. But I'd like to know more. And if she's not who I'm looking for, then it's just cool to have met her and I can walk away. No big deal. And then you start to become the perfect guy. Like, literally what women say, you go up to her and you start asking her questions. So what are those questions about? They're about her. Everyone's favorite topic is themselves. You start asking her about her. So she's already having a good time because she's talking about herself. You don't even have to be there. It's just a good moderator of questions. Then when she speaks, you want to know the answer. You ask questions for a reason. So you're listening. And then when she's answering and you're listening, it leads to more questions that you're curious about. And then she's like, oh my God, I met the greatest guy. He's so interested in me. He's so good at listening. And then he pays attention and he cares about what I have to say. Oh,
yeah. And not common enough. Yeah.
And yet when you look at it from this perspective of, what did you just do? You exercised a security principle. You've used security to protect your interest in a great relationship. You're not just going to take anybody. The walls of Troy are not knocked down, like you've got, and you're not in armor, so you're weird when you talk to people, but you've committed that you have to protect your own time. You only have enough time in your life to be with one person you're really serious about. And, it doesn't mean you can't go on a few dates with a girl and find out maybe it's a fit, maybe it isn't, whatever. It's not like, oh, I like you, so we're married, but when you get into something with somebody that you're looking with purpose. And you can only narrow it down to one person. In time, you're going to meet some people who you're like, oh, it's a good conversation for a few minutes. And you're like, well, it's really nice to meet you. I gotta go do this thing. I gotta go meet my buddy or whatever. It was a great chat. And that same guy used to be so nervous and get turned down by every girl, but because now he's actually been present and asking for the right reasons, that girl might be like, you don't want my number? Like, what do you mean you gotta go? No guy has walked away from me without wanting my number, even whether they're gonna call me or not. Interesting, and it makes it more fun because now you've brought value to somebody. You brought, you're an interesting person for them to have met. Maybe you just become friends. I don't know, but at least you're not constantly feeling like the little guy who's got to fight his way into being worth somebody else's time. Absolutely not. And if you feel that way, then start at the beginning. Start where we talked about, look at yourself. What do you bring to a relationship? And you've got to be more excited about the things you bring than you are afraid of the things that work against you. And when that shifts, then it's I hate to take the emotion out of it. It's just marketing. It's just PR, Do you have the best microwave in town? Well, hey, everyone's going to want it. But if you're like, oh, this thing is clunky and ugly, it's like selling anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to talk about how people can reach you and work with you? And maybe
I just realized time has flown. Chew it all up. People can reach me. My name is Paul Roseberry. Just like it sounds, Roseberry, like blueberry, but with a rose. PaulRoseberry.com is my website. I do offer coaching. Also, you can reach out to me with just a question. You just got a question or two. I love hearing people reach out with questions. I'm happy to shoot you back a thought. I've got a podcast I do with some friends called Vent This. It's comedically based. It's basically if you have something that annoys you, people cut you off in traffic and they don't wave, or pineapple on a pizza, whatever. If something that annoys you, write to us, let us know, and we'll talk about your gripe, and we'll either agree with you or we won't, and we'll break it down. We'll give you a solution either way. And it's pretty humor based, but we do, as time's gone on, more people are actually writing in to me specifically for relationship advice because it's a frustration point. It's a vent as well. Yeah. So hit me up on paulroseberry.com. My Instagram is Paul_Roseberry_. And, DM me, let me know. We can talk about coaching if you want to do like a real, get together, or like I said, I just want the world to be a better place. I know that sounds altruistic and cheesy, but I liken it to being a chiropractor. When you see someone's back is all like this and you're like, can I just crack you, please? Like for me, because I can't look at that. You must be so uncomfortable. Can you just let me help you? My God. I just want to.
That's funny. As someone who goes to a chiropractor, I'm like, yes. But yeah.
I've been as well. You walk out, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was 3 inches shorter walking around in like a letter S. I didn't know. Wow, this is. Yeah. How do I do this every day?
Yeah. Do you want to finish any of the security stuff, like to get or make a final comment about it, or do you think you covered it?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I would say the key to security is that it's mutually beneficial. Men and women are both served by it. It's one of these things I can't stress enough. It's not a one-sided solution. It's like, oh, be a man and say some like over the top stuff. And then, no. It's good for both. And it's applicable anywhere. It's a method of self-confidence really, and how to share your to build your own self-confidence, and then show people how your confidence can be exciting to them. And then probably they're going to want to follow you and start to act similarly. So it's about any kind of relationship, at work, your friends, your family, obviously romantic, and ultimately the relationship with yourself. I think it's a critical way. Is it the only way to look at life? No. Is it the language that works for everybody? Probably not. But I do believe it's a very clear. It's kind of like it's like a lighthouse. In the dark. You know what I mean? Once you get it, you just know, right? You just get it, and it applies whether you're starting to date, early in relationships, or been married 20 years. It's a fundamental system for enjoying relationships. So it's something I love to talk about. It's, would be too much to cram.
Yeah. And did you say you are going to write a book, or you did write a book, or you want to write a book?
No, I'm going to need to write a book. I haven't written it yet. The security method, it needs to be done, because I even get into some philosophical, sort of, I would say even spiritual perspectives on how to really look at ourselves and separate our identity that we were born into, as opposed to, how we really feel sometimes. Because I think, in a nutshell, what I mean by that is that, say you're like born into a poor family, you might feel your whole life like you're poor, like you're not part of the classes, you're part of the masses or whatever. But, don't forget, it's kind of like an actor in a script. We can separate to some degree and just recognize so many things that we take responsibility for in our lives that stress us out and maybe make us feel poorly. They were handed to us. Almost nothing to do with us, So I think it's important in life to find a way to understand how to consider to separate the actor from the script. And it's like when you see an actor get interviewed and they're all relaxed and chill, they're in their own clothes, even though last week they were a raving crazy person in a movie, they're like, well, yeah, that was me then, because that's what I was doing. And I was committed to that role while I was there. But at the end of the day, when I go home, this is how I dress, and to be able to find your true self, your own true interests. And that's, again, how you get into finding the best way to look for people who are going to be an interest fit for relationships. You got to know you.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard that said, like, you are born into this or whatever, like you're given this stuff that how you wound up being. That's what it is. How you wound up being, but you don't have to continue to be that way. You can choose for yourself, but
you can. And it doesn't even have to be some radical where you don't come back. It's just a way to kind of, I don't know if you're for anyone who's a gearhead, like in a car, like a 5-speed, you hit the clutch and it separates the transmission from the engine for just a minute. The engine can spin and the transmission doesn't need the pressure. And it just that little bit of separation to breathe for a sec. And then you go right back to being you, but you can go back to you with a fresh perspective. And it doesn't have to feel like it's a burden that you have to carry because it was given to you and you've never thought to ask why. You can go back to a life of interest, like an at will. I call it at will living. When you get a job somewhere, every application says if you're hired, it is at will employment, meaning you only come here because you want to, and we only give you hours because we want to. If either of us don't want to, then we don't really have to get into it. This is just, we don't want to anymore. It's no hard feelings. And I think life feels so often like a burden, like something that it's a series of responsibilities we were handed. And if you don't solve it, then you're a failure. And that sucks. But I think a lot of us feel that way. I know I've felt that way, I still to this day in certain ways. But if you can really visually kind of separate, go, you know what, that boulder was rolling down the mountain long before I ever even got here. What are the chances of me stopping that and thinking that if I don't, then I shouldn't even stand in the way, actually. Maybe I should, just kind of let life be a little and then catch my breath and decide where I want to go for lunch, so my point is, some of the stuff that I get into that will be in the book will be related to security, but you don't have to go that deep to take the relationship model for help.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on. And if you like this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. But thank you again, Paul. Great stuff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to point out that there is a send us a text message at the very beginning of the description, and you can use that to send an anonymous question or comment. So I'd really appreciate it. All right. Thanks.